Happy Thanksgiving, or at least coming up. In this video, this is part 2 of our Thanksgiving series for 2022, and I'm going to be teaching you all about rolls. Hey everyone, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and as I mentioned, this is our first recipe video, but our second video for our Thanksgiving series for 2022, and I'm going to be showing you how I make my dinner rolls. And good news, if you already have my simple yeast bread recipe mastered and down, then this is going to be easy peasy for you. I'm actually going to be showing you 2 different ways of shaping these rolls so they turn out differently based on what you want. Just know that the recipe for this is based off of my simple yeast bread loaf recipe, and I will have that in the description box below. These rolls are soft and delicious and absolutely perfect and necessary to have at your Thanksgiving meal or really any holiday meal. So first off, I'm going to show you guys how to make the dough. Now I am going to be rushing through it for a more extensive video about how I make the bread dough. You're going to want to see my simple yeast bread loaf video. I'll link that below. But otherwise, if you're familiar with it, this is going to look very familiar. I'm then going to show you the 2 different ways of making the rolls. And then at the end of this video, I'm actually going to show you how I like to store it, because the great way about dinner rolls is it is the perfect food to bring with you if you're going to someone else's house for Thanksgiving. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, let's talk about the flour. Now, do you know that I'm following the recipe that is on my website for my simple yeast loaf bread recipe? And this makes 2 2-pound loaves. And so regardless of how many rolls I want to make, I go ahead and make this recipe because if I only needed half for rolls, the other half I just make for bread. If you're wanting less than that, then I do actually recommend my ingredients quick sheet, because on there I have it for 1 loaf, 2 loaf, or 3 loaves for those who may want to make conversions smaller or bigger. But bottom line, rolls. Your flour, the type of wheat that you use does matter in this, especially if you're wanting to go for soft rolls like we're wanting. So my favorite wheat to use is hard white wheat, but I actually am out of hard white at the moment. So a good substitution is 3 parts hard red wheat to 1 part soft white wheat. So that soft white wheat really softens up that bread. So we already have it milled here, and again, check out my recipe for the simple yeast loaf to know how much grains this is, but this is about 9.5 cups of flour milled. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we're following the process exactly as it is in the recipe up to a point. So that means we have to proof our yeast. Here we are with Miss Betsy Bosch here, and we're going to add to proof. I use 3 cups of flour. If you want to use 2, that's fine. It kind of doesn't matter. What this does is start softening up the flour, as well as making sure your yeast is good. This is instant yeast. So that was 3 cups of flour. This is 2 1/4 tablespoons of yeast. And then we are adding in 3 3/4 cups of our warm water to get all this activated, stirred up. And we're gonna let it sit here and proof for about 15 minutes. All right, it's been 15 minutes. Yeast nice and bubbly. Now you know what to do. We're adding 1/2 cup of oil, 1/2 cup of honey. I measure them in the same cup. Salt, and we've already had 3 cups. It's 4, 8. Now it calls for 9 to 9.5 cups. Remember, I like to add up to 8 total cups. We can always add more. All right, so stop this real quick. So again, when you start seeing it, just pull off the sides of the Bosch. We're then gonna knead it for 9 minutes, and I'll see you back here after that. And then that is when the process changes a little bit for rolls. All right, so it is kneaded. You can see that it is soft. Now, I will be doing an updated video about my bread recipe at a later date, but just do know, if you notice, this is still a little sticky, and I prefer it that way because I will add some dust on my hands for flour, and this allows it to be a lighter loaf But with a dusting of flour in my hands, I can still form it. This is where the process changes. So we already have it kneaded. We're gonna set this aside. We're gonna leave it in the bowl. We are not having a first rise because we're gonna go ahead and shape it into our rolls. So here we have the brownie pan. This one is from Pampered Chef. I have for years. I love it. And a funny thing, I have literally never used this for brownies, only rolls, because it gives the perfect shape. So here's how we form the rolls. It is actually super easy. So because my dough is slightly sticky, I just take some leftover flour, lightly dust my hands, and then I just grab some dough about the size of a golf ball, a little bit larger, and then I form it. Now, you can make this as pretty as you want. For my family, I usually just roll it up and throw it in. But you know, for something like Thanksgiving, we want it to look a little bit extra nice. So we're gonna take the time to roll it out pretty. So if you see with my hands, I'm kind of using my thumb on this type of motion to where you're just wanting a smooth top on the top. So we have that. Place it in our brownie pan. Now let's continue. If it starts sticking on your hands, just dust it with a little bit more flour. Now some of these I do a little bit larger. That is definitely larger than a golf ball. Just a little bit though. But you can do either. You can do smaller rolls like this one, you can do bigger ones. So we're kind of doing a variety of sizes here. So we have these done, and now we cover them up with a pretty cloth and we let rise until pretty much double. This will take about anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. I do like setting them on top of my oven while it is preheating to 350 degrees. And we'll see you back here whenever it is doubled up. Second way of doing rolls, if you don't have a brownie pan, 9 by 13, easy peasy. And that also gets more of your traditional rolls like on a sheet like you see in the store. So same process, just lightly dust the hands. Same size, although these I do go for a little bit bigger because it's a bigger pan. Because it's a bigger pan, we're kind of going for those taller, bigger rolls. So these, same thing, just roll them where they're nice and pretty, and then we're just gonna set them where they are fairly close together. Now, if you're really particular about having exactly the same size rolls, you can always weigh these little balls to ensure that they will be the same size. Me, I don't care that much. I'm not gonna worry about it. All right, so here we go in our 9 by 13. You can see I spaced them just a little bit apart. As they rise, they are gonna come together more. But like this, you just cover it up, let rise until double. And this is the amount of dough that I have left over. So any dough that I have left over, you can just form it into, fold it as normal, form it into a little loaf or make more rolls. But I never let dough like this go to waste because that'll make a great little loaf. It'll be little, but it is still a good loaf of bread. All right, so here we have the rolls. They have doubled in about 20 to 30 minutes. Now place them 350 degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. And here are the rolls from the brownie pans. They baked in about 15 minutes and they are wonderful. Now to add that shiny top that dinner rolls have, we're just gonna brush some melted butter over the top. This is about 1 or 2 tablespoons, just get enough. And then just brush these over the top and they just look so beautiful this way. Now again, I like to serve these hot, but here's what they look like. The beauty of the brownie pan is they all have that really nice uniform shape and gives them the square bottoms. And at my house, I usually just serve this in a bowl like this, but of course you can add them onto a platter and look how beautiful they look. And here are the rolls from the 9 by 13 pan. I do find that these generally take a little bit longer, more on the 20-minute side to cook all the way. Of course, we're gonna add the melted butter on top. And I actually find that these rolls are just a little bit softer than the rolls that we do in the brownie pan. So again, it's just all depending on what type of rolls that you want. Of course, you can leave them in a pan so people can break them apart, or you can break them apart and put them on a nice platter for them. Well, there you have it, y'all. These rolls are soft and delicious, but feel free to experiment with your own wheat combinations to get it to how you like it. That's the beauty of freshly milled wheat, is we have these options. So feel free to use grains like spelt or camus, a mixture with the hard red or the hard white. There are so many different possibilities, so feel free to experiment to see what you like. Now let me show you how I actually store these, especially when traveling. As you notice, I've already used some of these rolls, but these are the ones that I did in the 9x13 pan. I literally just take them out of the 9x13 once they're cooled and place them in these 2-gallon Ziploc bags. I'll link some down for you in the description box, but these are perfect because you don't have to break the rolls apart. You can just put them in the Ziploc bag and take them with you. Of course, you can keep them in the pan, put tinfoil or saran wrap over it and take it with you. Many different possibilities, but that's an easy way to do it. Of course, you can throw in the dinner rolls that we did in the brownie pan into a Ziploc bag, into a bowl, whatever you want to do. And again, I talk about these rolls being nice and soft, and they are. These are actually a couple days old and they are still soft. To soften them up even more, just reheat them a little bit in an oven, say 300 degrees for about maybe 5 minutes, maybe even brush some more melted butter over it to kind of bring back the life of the shiny tops. But again, there's just many options that you can do. So hopefully this was helpful for y'all. You finally have a roll recipe. I make these all the time, even not for a holiday, because the great thing about dinner rolls is that it's a yeast bread that you serve hot. You do not have to wait for it to cool down in order to serve them, and I prefer it that way. So I actually tend to time it with my meals where I'm pulling the rolls right out of the oven as we're about to eat, so they're nice and hot and that butter just melts beautifully on it. So as always, recipe, anything I mentioned in this video will be in the description box below. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.